support landscape?
Well, it'll be a long time for you to want to the plant right on top of that stump, because the stump grinder is going to grind it that deep into the ground. The stump is that deep into the ground. So that stump, as it rots away, anything you put in there is going to sink. But you can go 2 feet out. If you dig a hole, you can plant there.
The whole thing, the tree fell over and then it fell back cockeyed, so the whole area is going to be ground. So
If you want to buy soil in bulk, go to New Earth or somebody that sells New Earth products and just get their garden soil. If you want to buy it in bags, we've got the Ladybug, what they call Hill Country Garden soil.
Does she need to worry about the oak wilt?
No, not at all.
Because
Not
I
at
thought
all.
it could spread through like sawdust and stuff.
No. No. It spreads through live tissue. Once the tissue dries, it can't exist. Below 17% moisture content, will never have any live oak wilt fungus. So it can't be spread in smoke, can't be spread in sawdust, can't be spread in wood chips. Yes.
I gather up my leaves when they fall, and I put them in big plastic bags, and then in the heat of the summer, I dump them out on my beds, and it seems to be okay, but I know they're just leaves. Should I put compost on that?
They'll break down faster if you put some compost in with it. They'll also break down faster if instead of putting them in bags, you just put them in a pile somewhere. Because what's the number one thing we need for something to decompose is oxygen. When we put it in a plastic bag, we've cut off all the oxygen. So it'll decompose much faster if it's exposed to air. It can be a compost bin or it can be a pile. Yes.
I also had a question about, you talked about the Medina Plus for the smell of like bio, whatever. I have this smell problem from my neighbor's dog poop or whatever. Can I use?
Yeah, spray over the fence. It'll break things down in a hurry. And it won't hurt anything. Nobody should object to your doing that. Yes, ma'am.
Mexican sycamore, probably about 30 feet at least tall, it's established. How far do I want to mulch out?
As far as you can.
Okay. So it doesn't end up killing the grass though?
It may, but if you look under a big tree, there's very little grass because it shaded it out.
Okay.
So which do you like better, your grass or your tree?
Yeah, my tree.
Yeah. Jason?
For someone who inherited a landscape yard that's been treated with chemical fertilizers, how would you walk them
Medina
through?
Plus. Medina Plus will break down any toxic residues and just start putting organic fertilizer on. And the world is self-healing if we, stay away from the really toxic stuff. Start today. Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have to take a big, huge concrete patio out and have it cut up and hauled off. And then we're going to put in a flagstone patio instead. Do you have any money you can recommend to take the concrete away? And are we crazy to try to do the flagstone ourselves?
It's up to you. Depends on how good your back is and how patient you are. It takes twice as long as you think it will. Jerry, who's probably working up front right now, Jerry went out to Stone and Soil Depot to get his flagstone, but he didn't want to do it himself, so he asked them to recommend somebody that would do the work for him, and he was very pleased with whoever they suggested. I don't know who it was. You can ask Jerry if you want his guy, or you can call again Stone and Soil and ask them who they would recommend to do that kind of work. Yes.
We have a brick planter in front of the house, a couple of feet wide. Reluctant to put anything in there, just rotting leaves now. Well, it's all very shady. Would you encourage?
As for the list of shade plants, the shade gardening seminar we did, we talked about a lot of that. If you want shrubs, you're going to go with things like Gold Dust Aucuba, Aspidistra, Giant Liriope, Holly Fern. If you want flowers, you're going to go with, Turk's Cap and a lot of different things. But we've got a whole list of plants for the shade up there. Yes?
On the molasses, I have spread granular molasses out in the yard. The deer are like, okay, I'm here. But if you want just to add it into just how much molasses if you have a hose and sprayer, or like an ounce or 2 ounces?
Maybe an ounce per gallon.
1 ounce, okay.
And if it's thick and it doesn't want to go through your sprayer, obviously what you want to do is put the molasses in, set it on 1 ounce per gallon, and then let it clog up your sprayer. Instead, mix it half and half with water and set it on 2 ounces per gallon. Or mix it 3 parts water, 1 part molasses, and set it on 4 ounces per gallon. It's just a little mathematical game. It comes out exactly the same. but diluted 3 to 1 with water, it'll go through that sprayer a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
You'll be filling the sprayer more often, but you
Yeah.
won't have the clogging problem.
Okay.
And don't do like a certain fella in Seguin did. Dry molasses is not crystalline molasses. Dry molasses does not dissolve in water. Dry molasses is either soy meal or dried up cane, something like that, that molasses is then sprayed on. The guy who sold me my Continental Belton sprayer that I can pull behind my tractor, he decided he would go dump 200 pounds of dry molasses into his tank and let it dissolve. Took him 3 days to clean his sprayer out. So, liquid molasses and dry molasses are two different things.
So I just go to Sam's and buy a big jug of molasses.
You can do that, or you can buy it off the shelf here, or the cheapest place, if you're ever doing it in big quantities, find somebody that has cattle that has lick feeders. I've got a guy out of New Braunfels comes and fills my lick feeder with several hundred gallons of molasses every few months, and I can just put some jugs out and he'll fill them up with molasses while he's there.
When are you making compost tea these days?
We have it Saturdays and Sundays. We start at Friday morning. You go peek in the barrel over there. It's brewing away.
Oh, is it? And do you bring your 5-gallon buckets, or do you have them? or
We
what?
have gallon
You do?
jugs. You can bring your own,
Okay.
whatever. Yes.
Would you ever incorporate a handful of dry molasses in waiting soil?
Sure wouldn't hurt anything. I think it's a great idea.
And what?
Dry molasses. Dry molasses, if you don't overdo it, is great for many things. Liquid molasses is great for many things. Anybody fighting nutgrass or nutsedge?
I heard you this morning say.
Yeah, just like half a cup of molasses to a gallon of water. Go out and water your nutsedge with that. Do again in 2
That's
weeks.
awesome.
In a month from now, you won't have any nutsedge.
I like that.
No buying image or manage or breaking your back trying to dig it, which never works. I wish we could find something that would kill Bermuda grass that well, but we don't have that yet.
Right. In the flower bed.
Huh?
In the flower bed.
Yeah. If it grew as well in the yard as it does in the flower bed, it'd be wonderful. Yes,
You
ma'am.
mentioned that jammer was not the best type of zoysia.
Yeah.
Why?
Jammer is very susceptible to brown patch disease, Rhizoctonia. Go with the finer bladed zoysias, El Toro or Emerald or one of those. And in St. Augustine, don't ever get Raleigh. Raleigh is very disease prone. Go with Palmetto or Del Mar or one of those.
How would you treat brown patch? Because I just had a lot of jammer laid down, and I have brown patch.
Well, brown patch you don't have now. Brown patch is a cool weather disease. Brown patch shows up in the spring and in the fall. If you have brown areas now, you have grub worms or you probably have not adequate water. But if you have brown patch spring and fall, you can treat it with cornmeal. We'll control it completely. You can treat it with plant wash. We'll control it completely. No need for strong chemicals.
I had a load of topsoil brought in, and now I have big patches of weeds.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of those weeds without killing anything else?
Is it in your grass?
It's in my grass.
Fertilize and water and mow. St. Augustine is the toughest grass in the world. St. Augustine will choke out every weed
Yeah, but
and
I
every
don't
other kind
have
of grass.
St. Augustine.
If
That's
you have
because
Bermuda
the
grass will choke out everything except St. Augustine.
Okay.
Mow. Your lawnmower is your best weed controller you have.
Well, I mow all the time, and it seems to me that area is getting bigger, not littler.
Bring a sample of your grass. You probably need to fertilize and water a little more too, but bring a sample of your weed.